We are here with Collin Raye. We're at CRS. How many years have you been coming to CRS?
Boy.
A lot of years.
Strangely enough, my first one was 1985. I had a band with the Ray Brothers band, and we had a deal on Mercury Records. It didn't last 10 minutes. but I remember being at CRS, and it was back when everything was at Opry Inn Hotel, and then that deal fell through, and then 5 years later I got signed with Sony as a solo artist, and then from then on I've been to many
a lot of them.
I still miss doing it at Opry Inn Hotel.
Yeah,
it's
I
was
funny
just used to that.
It's kind of like CMA Fest. Everybody liked it at the fairgrounds, and now it's downtown, and now we're here at a new place again this year, so it's all new and
old
fun.
habits die hard.
They do, they do. Well, what all have you been up to? I know you've been busy. 25 years, I hear.
This is we're starting our 25th year anniversary. Love Me was number one 25 years ago.
That does not seem possible. I'm not that old.
I always point out I was 11 years old when that song came out.
We were both 11.
But it's amazing how that song and so many others that came after it have stood the test of time.
Wow.
And that's why I still do 80, 90 dates a year, which is plenty for me.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And the folks we always have, if it's not sold out, it's 80%. And so it's a blessing to be able to still be able to tour and do this music and still be able to. I'm so thankful I can still sing these songs because some of them are hard to sing. And so we're commemorating the year by not only a big tour, we're calling the Big 25, but also we're recutting the hits. And I had 25 hits too, so 25.
Hey, that's perfect.
So the name of the album is going to be the Big 25 as well. We're recording it right now. And that's turning out great. It's sonically, it just sounds newer. We're cutting the songs the same way pretty much. I take liberties on a few things, but for the most part, it's the original versions, just do better. And so that I'm looking forward to a really good year. It's going to be probably the busiest year I've had in 15 years.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Now I also know that you still are very active in your charity.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit and tell us how that's going.
Actually speaking of CRS, in 1999, one of the highlights of my career was when the country radio broadcasters gave me the Humanitarian of the Year award. And it was for years I'd been involved with Child Help USA, and Catholic Relief Services, many different ones, Al-Anon. But more recently, we started a foundation of our own, named after my little granddaughter we lost back in 2010. Her name is Haley Bell. And we call it the Haley Bell Blessed Chair Foundation. And what we do is she passed away from complications of a neurological disorder that no one could ever diagnose. But she was certainly, most of her last 5 years of her life, she was bound to either bed or a specialty wheelchair. And so we thought, what can we do to turn this into something good? And so the foundation we raise money to supply those kind of really expensive chairs, and they're like $6,000-7,000 a piece for families who can't get them. Like we always just assume Medicaid or your normal insurance policy would cover those, but often they don't. And so we've been. God's blessed it because we hit the ground running, and we've already been able to deliver a lot of chairs to a lot of families, and there's such a long waiting list.
Oh, I bet.
So it's a way to. So even though I still do other charity work as well, that's the one I focus on the most now.
That's very cool. Now, as an independent artist throughout the last 25 years since you were 12.
Yes, 12.
What have you found the challenges to be as things have changed? I mean, because we've gone from vinyl to the cassettes and 8-tracks, and now it's all digital. So what do you find is the biggest challenges after you've been through all these different things?
Well, I think the technology part of it has actually been a benefit because it's much easier to share music. And it's leveled the playing field a great deal for artists in all different genres. If you can build a fire online, for your music, then you can get a career that way.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you don't even have to sign your life away to a major label to do it. So that it's weakened the stranglehold that the labels have always had, and I think that's good. I'm sure that would offend some folks at the labels, but it's the truth. It levels that out a little bit. And it gives you, in other words, you don't necessarily feel like I'm cutting the hits again. I think any major label in town, if I went to them and said, hey, do you want to license this for me for 3 years? They'll do it because they got nothing to lose. And again, it's not me trying to cut new Collin Raye songs. It's like these 25 hit songs. Do you want to, but you go, well, do we really need to do that? Because you can still get your music out one way or the other. I mean, obviously they can distribute in certain areas that you can't on your own, but you still get them out there. I mean, good music will find a way, and I think in that regard, I think that technological advances of sharing music have really helped.
Right. Now you touched on it just a little bit. You said that there's ways that they could do something that you can't. So there's some challenges and some stuff. Go into a little bit of that. What can they do that you maybe can't do?
Well, a big label has a machine, a marketing machine,
Right.
and yeah, you can hire your own publicist, and you can do. But there's some things that there's some doors that just won't open unless the major label is opening that door for you.
Right.
And there's some retail places that still sell records. Not many places still sell records, but there's a few that do. And some of them just will not put your product in there if it's not solicited through a major label.
Right.
So they can help you in that regard if they believe in it.
Right.
And I would be all about that if I really thought someone really wanted to get involved and help. Because again, but the chances of me doing new music at a major is very, very slim unless the musical landscape changes drastically from what it is now. Because I mean, you know my music, it wouldn't fit with the so it doesn't.
But you do that so well.
But and there's more power to the folks that do that, but that wouldn't work. I wouldn't do that.
Right.
And secondly, even if I did, nobody would buy it because they'd be like, he that's not what he
That's
does,
not what he does, yeah.
And so until the landscape changes to where it gets back to more, and I think that's always a possibility.
Yeah, I think the trend is coming back. I
think
see
so.
that.
I mean, the fact that somebody like Chris Stapleton is being pushed out there, because let's face, again, major labels. I think the gatekeepers of the industry will shove something down the public's throat so they like it. And if they just chose to say, I'm going to push this, then Jamie Johnson, the next thing you know, the people will be buying that in large numbers. But as long as they keep selling that same thing, then the folks are going to do that because that's just what they get.
Sure.
In other words, you listen to something enough times, you're going to like it. That's the theory.
That's very true. Yeah.
And and if that ever happens, you know what? I'd love the opportunity. But if I never get to cut new music ever again, I'm fine because I've had I got a great collection of albums and very thankful. I've had six platinum albums. Not a lot of people can say that.
That's
and
absolutely
I'm very, very comfortable with that. Everything I ever set out to do in my career, I've done many times over. So if it's over today, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, we don't want that to happen.
Well, I can still go. So
we like having you. We like hearing that stuff. Well, thank you so much for stopping by today. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Thank you very much.